Hello, friends and brothers. This is Justin Jones with Masonic Improvement. I'm joined here with Dennis Yates.
But tonight's not about us. Tonight is about our master smith. He is a smith, brothers, just like Hiram. Hiram was a smith, and he was a smith of bronze and steel and gold, and he shaped metal with his hands. Right? He was the master. Well, this brother has taken on this personal journey of his own. Brother Mickey Allen from Oso Lodge and from down in Corpus, who is hosting the Master Mason's degree on the Lexington with us. And he is also our premier vendor for the Masonic Improvement Summit, who is is creating a special uh, prize for somebody who can afford it. Because I know the bids are going to be big on that one. It's going to be a big one.
Yes.
But he's our master smith, Texas's master smith. Welcome to the show, Mickey. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Dennis and Justin. I appreciate you guys having me, man. This is really cool. I've been watching the podcast since I found out about it too, and so thank you guys for doing all this as well. So I finally pulled the trigger and decided to become a Mason back in 21. I was raised November 18th, 21 on the Lexington here in Corpus. And yeah, that was a crazy cool experience, man. I kept hearing.
I was there.
Yeah, that's right. That's where I met most of these guys for the first time, actually. And man, talk about feeling welcomed. That night, that's the night that changed everything for me. That's when I finally started to click and understand why it's such a big deal. You know, just feeling welcomed by guys you may have never even met in your life before, but they're treating you like, you know, they love you and they got your back just right, you know, right away. It's super cool. And ever since that night, man, I've just been all about it. I'm trying to learn everything I can about masonry and applying it to myself so I can help others apply it, you know, the new guys and whatnot. And I love staying active in it as much as I can.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And just to give a little background to everybody, brother Mickey, he was a musician in his former life and played some mean bass and actually the real bass.
Yeah, the old upright double bass. Yeah.
Yes, and in a rock band, in a punk band, and I gotta tell you, seeing those old photos and stuff, that's badass. It is.
Yeah,
it is. That would have been cool. I would have loved that show.
Yeah, man, that was some fun times. I started fiddling around with guitar back when I was about 12 years old, and I never had anybody around me to teach me much of anything. Of course, we didn't have YouTube, so I was on my own as far as learning. So just, you know, by ear over the next 2 or 3 years. Well, you know, during my teen years, I should say, I started kind of teaching myself here and there a little bit. And then when I moved to Corpus in my mid-20s, I met some friends here in Corpus who were in the music scene, and one thing led to another. I ended up playing in a couple of fairly known popular bands here in Corpus. One was the Really Rottens. They were kind of a pop punk rock band. They were pretty prominent in the Corpus area, at least in the late 90s. And then the band I really enjoyed being a member of, I played upright bass for a band called Matt Hole and the Hot Rod Gang. It's a fairly well-known Texas rockabilly band. And yes. I'd have been a fan of theirs since I was in junior high, man. I mean, I was the young guy in the band, but man, that's when my life really started to fall in place. I felt like, yeah, I'm going to be a rock star. This is it. This is a life for me, man. I love it. But, you know, I had my fun with it. I did it for about 10 years with that band. Lots of really cool experiences, meeting people I never imagined I would ever have the privilege of meeting, you know, musicians that I looked up to over my youth and whatnot. And I still play every now and then just here at the house fiddling around. And my boy, Max, he's 14, fixing to be 14. He is a phenomenal guitar player. I showed him the basic power chords about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, and he stayed in his room for the next 6 months. And man, he came out like a young Eddie Van Halen. It's just mind.
Nice.
So
I like that ref.
Yeah,
I like that ref.
Yeah,
he's one of the key.
Teacher became the student in this house. I tell you that, man. He blows me out of the water on the 6 string. Give me a bass though, I'll show him a thing or two.
Right. Well, that happened with my kids too. I taught them just basically what I knew, which is not much. I taught them and I play. That's for sure. I sing. I'm a singer, but they took that a whole other level.
Losing you, Dennis. Losing you, bud.
Man,
You
hold
got
on.
You went choppy on us.
Okay,
Somebody
am I still
wants to hear
chopping?
them. Yeah. There's too many juicy secrets fixing to come out. That's what happened.
It's that Goliad high speed.
Yeah, I know. I grew up in Orange Grove, so I know what that's like. When the internet first
Right.
came. Yeah, first computer I got, man, I had to go stand outside and hold one hand up this way and stand on my left foot, and it was
Yeah.
small town internet.
Right.
Yeah, I remember dial up when I was a
Yeah.
kid. Talk about the 90s. I'm
Oh,
sure you experienced it too.
Oh yeah,
Dial up. Mom needs to use the phone, time to get off.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, ladies. Can't text you anymore. Mom's gonna call some people.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna age myself a little bit, but before America Online, AOL,
Yeah.
there was this little box, and it was a monochrome little box, and it had a keyboard on it, and you had a code name basically and it worked off your phone number, and you had a code name, and you just went on there, and whoever was on there, and it was just this monochrome text box
Huh.
that you text. That was just the craziest thing, and I was one of the few that had it. I'm not going to tell you why I was able to have it, but
I think those are called
I was one of the
telegraphs,
few.
Dennis. I think you're
Just
talking about
about.
telegraph. I think you're
It's just about.
the telegraph age.
It was probably
You're
just
aging
about as
yourself.
slow as it's about as slow as that Morse code. It was pretty crazy. But I was saying about when I chopped up, I was saying that my kids did the same thing, and that's what we hope, right? That we're able to pass it on, pass just what little we know, and that's what Justin and I hope with Freemasonry as well. We just pass on what we little we know, and hopefully somebody else can take it to the next level. If not us, of course we have goals, but if not us, hopefully somebody else will take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And it was that way with my kids. One ended up playing like 9 instruments. The other one was 12 instruments, and the youngest one, he got all of his scholarships from being the 3rd ranking opera singer in North Texas.
Oh wow, that's
Go
really
figure.
Yeah,
right?
That's awesome.
But now he's a comedian, and that's what he does for a living, or that's kind of what he does for a living. He has to do other things to support his living.
He's a comedian.
Do what?
He's a comedian.
Yes, he's a comic.
Really?
But he's raunchy like me.
Where did he get his?
We can't get him on the show.
Where did he get his sense of humor from?
He got his mouth from me and his sense of humor.
Okay.
Mom, that's for sure. Because his mom put up with a lot of crap from me. That's for sure.
No way.
So Mickey, I follow you on Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And clearly you are or clearly, at least to anyone that follows you on Facebook, you are a very talented smith. Tell us a little bit about what got you into that and kind of where you're at.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. First, I want to say I know there's a ton of guys out there far better than what I am, but I just want to give credit where it's due. Jason Knight is a guy I look up to tremendously in the knife making world. I'm actually going to go up to Tennessee where he lives sometime mid next year, I think, and take some in-person one-on-one lessons with him. So that's going to be cool. So back to the beginning, back in 2019, I used to work for a refinery here in Corpus. I've been a industrial welder, pipe welder, fitter since the early 2000s when I first got my real first man job, working as a grunt out in the refineries. And I was a real go-getter when I was, in those times, and I earned the respect of a lot of the older men who had been doing it for a long time. And slowly but surely, they started showing me how to weld. They'd tell me to grab a hood, put this hood on, take this, do that, and I picked it up fairly quickly because I'm blessed with coordination in my hands, I guess I could say. Hand-eye coordination, I had that. So fast forward about 10 years after I was a contractor out in this refinery, and I ended up getting on with the refinery, which was my dream job at that point. That was the ultimate goal, to work for the company, you know. And after about 7 years of working with them, I just got to a point in my personal life, for whatever reason, I just kind of got laxed, and it ended up biting me in the butt. I lost my job in 2019, late 2019, to my own doings. But then, I told my wife, "Don't worry, babe. I got a lot of connections in this line of work. It's construction, basically. I'll be working again in a week or two." Well, this thing called COVID-19 came out of nowhere a couple months later. And that got scary because, it didn't matter who I knew or what they knew or what was available. Everybody was shut down and unemployment wasn't very much. Well, about a month before I lost that job, I was watching TV because my wife had been in the hospital it was a minor procedure she had. And I stayed the night with her there. And the show Forge and Fire came on the TV there in the hospital. It was like a marathon, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed up all night watching that. Being a welder and pipe fitter, it was relative to some stuff that I was already familiar with. So I was interested. Well, we went home, and a couple of days after that, and I told my wife, I want to build a forge. I want to try this stuff out. It looks fun. So I fabricated my own little setup here in the garage and whatnot. Some of the basic tools I gathered up. Well, then it was about a month after I started all that, I lost the job, and just time on my hands for the first time. I've never been without a job up until then. So I had time on my hands. Out in the garage one day, I had some railroad spikes that somebody gave me because I didn't know anything about forging yet. But I was told that railroad spikes is usually where a lot of blacksmiths start off, learning how to move steel around with a hammer and whatnot. So I attempted to make a railroad spike knife. It's a pretty common project for beginners. And I forged one out, and it didn't look half bad.
Do you have one? Do you have one there with you?
Right here. I knew you were going to ask that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
This is a Pastmaster version. So,
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, thank you. So the very first one I made actually turned out pretty decent. I surprised myself, put it that way, because I didn't think I had any idea what I was doing. But for whatever reason, it came out pretty nice. And I posted a picture on my Facebook just saying, "Hey guys, check it out. Look what I did," whatever. Well, little by little over the next couple of weeks, man, I was getting people texting me and messaging me, "Can you make this knife? Can you make that? Can you do this and that?" I said, "I don't know, man, but I'll try to figure it out. I'll give it a shot." And it started taking off. Like it was gaining speed like crazy. Just out of nowhere, people started commissioning me to build this and make that. And a writer for a local paper here in San Patricio, for the San Patricio newspaper, contacted me on Facebook one evening saying that he loves forging and Forge and Fire is his favorite show, and he wanted to know if I'd be interested in doing an interview about my work. I said, "Well, yeah, that'd be cool."
Nice.
Yeah, so he came over to the house a week later or whatever and did the interview. The paper released, and next thing I know, I get a message from all three local news channels here, 3, 6, and 10 here in Corpus. Every one of them came over and did an interview with me, and I was just blown away. I couldn't believe this was coming out of nowhere, man. And I have no other explanation other than it was a godsend, because not only did it get me notoriety seemingly out of nowhere, it fed my family for the better part of a year. And it was just
nice.
I couldn't believe it was happening. I was so grateful. I was out there day in and day out, late into the evenings, just swinging away, learning everything I could as fast as I could, because I was trying to get better, so I could increase my quality and increase the business and, that whole thing. And about a year into it, the interviewer from Channel 6 here in Corpus, she contacted me again saying that she now works for Spectrum News, which is a statewide channel. She wanted to know if she could do a follow-up story. I said, "Well, yeah, that'd be cool."
Wow.
We did that, and it kind of, went statewide, and my name started going outside of Texas here and there. I was getting calls and messages, and it took off from there, man. It's been going. It seems to never have really slowed down, to be honest with you. And when I became a Mason, my mentor was Steve Prue at Also Naval Lodge. A lot of guys knew Steve. He was a longtime Mason his whole life, basically. And shortly after I was raised, he got sick with COVID, and it took his life, unfortunately, pretty quickly. Hit him hard. But before he got sick, he and I had discussed one evening at his house while I was still studying for my master's at that point. I told him that I really wanted to contribute something from my capabilities as far as forging goes. I wanted to do something for the lodge or masonry in general. What could I do? So he said, well, how about a Tyler sword? Think you can handle that?
Oh,
I said,
yes.
man, I like that idea. Knights Templar style swords and stuff. There's nothing cooler than that. So I went home that evening and started drawing it up, and was about halfway into forging it, and then Steve got sick and passed away, unfortunately. But when I finally finished it, I spoke to the worshipful master of the lodge at the time, and the guys in the lodge, and told them that I'd really like to present it in lodge, and you know, uh, give it to the lodge in Steve's name. Dedicate. Yeah, I couldn't think of it.
Yes.
Dedicate
Nice.
it to Steve's name. Steve Prue, because he was an extremely dedicated Mason his entire life. He'd done a lot for the lodge, more than most people even know about, I'm sure. But so I did one evening, and man, I was pretty emotional for me. I couldn't get the words out that night. That was a really cool experience. And fast forward a little bit after that, I'd already had the idea that maybe I should try to square and compass on my railroad spike knives, because I'd already made a million railroad spike knives before this thing ever happened amongst our brothers and everything. And I put a square and compass on one evening, posted a picture on the Texas Masons page, and I mean, I was sitting here watching a movie in the bedroom with my wife that evening, and my phone dings. And man, when I tell you it was nonstop, it was literally nonstop for 3 days and 3 nights. I mean, it was crazy. I could not believe it. Could not believe, the support was insane. So that is when I learned the valuable lesson of learning how to say no. After I said yes about 600 times, literally. So since about last February, I've made, going on nearly 700 of them now.
Wow.
That's just for the brothers in our fraternity. That's not including customers that I've had with all different styles of knives that I've already had, ordered up and everything. So when I say I'm busy, I promise you.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to make one of those rail spike knives?
Well, at this point, I'm not bragging when I say this, but I'm being literal. I've gotten it down to, so I had my kid set up a camera just to time me out of curiosity. If I'm really pushing myself, what can I do? From start, throwing it in the fire, to sharpening it, ready to go. I did it in under 12 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some brute force right there, buddy.
Yeah. And, I've told people that before, and they're like, well, then why are you behind, man? Are you being lazy? I said, dude, if I did that for 600 knives, I would be in the hospital.
Yes.
But I've got it down to a science on these things. I really do, man. I've got it down damn near to the same amount of hammer swings. I've actually counted, and I've got it down pat with these things.
That's interesting that you say that you've gotten it down to where just about how many strikes of the hammer you're going to hit on that spike to turn it into a knife and then sharpen it. And I say that that's interesting because isn't that what we should be doing? We should be paying attention and measuring what we're doing at all times, no matter what the job is, no matter what the hobby is or whatever. If we're in Freemasonry, we ought to be measuring ourselves against the best and seeing what we can do to improve. And you're doing that exact thing with your smithing, and that's why you're so successful at it, because you care enough to become a real master at the work, right?
Thank you.
And I really do attribute that to, well, you have good work ethic, obviously, but I think that we should attribute that same work ethic to Freemasonry or whatever civil service we're in or anything else that we do in life. We should be constantly reevaluating where we're at, where we've been, and where we plan on going.
Yeah. What's the next? I look at it like, I was thinking about this the other day when I really started thinking about how not only what do I need to improve on, but how to improve. How do you improve on something, right? You break it down into steps. Like, you have to have a plan for every improvement you want to make. Break it down. Where do I start? What's the next thing after that? And so on. And so I do that with my knives. I'll take a look at the knife after I forge it, and I say, where, visually looking at it, where's my weak point? Judging myself, my work, whatever it might be. And I focus on that weak point next, and I work on it till I feel like that's been elevated to where it needs to be. And then I look for the next, what I feel might be where I can improve. And if we can just learn to apply that to ourselves and our aspects of life, all the aspects of life, man, can you imagine? I mean,
Yes.
There's a saying, and I don't know who to attribute it to, but it's basically what you measure improves. That's the gist of it, and that applies to everything, like what you and Dennis are saying. If you want to get good at push-ups, right? You have to measure how many push-ups you could do, and if you're not measuring it, you don't know if you can any better because you don't have anything to compare that with. This is the same thing with like what you're describing. How long does it take to make a knife? How many hammer swings does it take? If it's taking longer and it's taking more hammer swings, I'm not going in the direction I need to go. Something I'm doing is not right.
yeah,
And that applies like what Dennis is saying, like everything in life. Like anything you want to improve, you have to measure, be that at work or with your family, or even at the lodge. We have to be aware of the quantitative things in our life, be it time or the amount of something. And if we're trying to increase that or decrease it, if you don't have something to measure it with, if you're not measuring it, then you don't know if it's going in the direction you want.
that's exactly right. You have to you have to set a standard, get a baseline
That's
where
right.
you're at, and then set a standard for your goals. And I try to. Sometimes it's hard to know if you've reached, and in different aspects of life, it's hard to know whether or not you feel like you've reached success in that specific area. And I try to gauge that based on the reactions or behaviors of my loved ones and friends. You can pretty much figure out where you stand on those kind of things by people who care about you in your life.
Yeah.
And I try to do that as a husband and a father and everything. I try to. I definitely feel like I've improved in my household as a man since I've been a Mason. Not just since I became a Mason, but since I started really learning how to use the working tools.
I
Because
think
yeah,
anytime you feel like you're at the top of something, that's when the set begins,
that's right.
because you get complacent.
Yep, and that's
And
what.
while you're yeah, because like was said earlier, I don't remember who said it, but I think it was Dennis. Like everything's built up somebody else. Like everybody's standing on the shoulder of giants, right? And if you become that giant at one time and you get complacent, people are gonna go past you. They're gonna shoot past you because they're building up what you've already worked off
Exactly.
your accomplishments, what you've proven that can be done. They're
Mhm.
going to surpass that while
Yep,
you're sitting.
that's right. And as like when I was, when I used to, when I used to perform professionally on stage as a musician, you have to learn to reinvent yourself every couple of years. You can't stay the same. I mean, if you're lucky enough,
People get bored with the same old show.
that's a fact, man. And when you start to get bored yourself with what you're doing, and I kind of did. Honest, that's the reason I kind of, I bowed out after about 7 years. I said I'm starting to feel like it's just not genuine anymore, and I'm ready to move on. So that's what happened with me. But yeah, you have to be vigilant of where you're at. And there's a saying, something like the best bands know when it's time to get off stage.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Looking
And
at you, Green
that's
Day.
proven.
Yeah, absolutely.
This all reminds me, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I think it's. But someone asked Eric Clapton what it's like being the world's best guitarist, and he said, "I don't know. You'll have to ask Prince." And it's it's the same mentality. Like you have to be, and you did the same thing, Mickey, because you're looking at who you think's better than you, who your peers are, and you're learning from them.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. Like if you think you're the best, I mean, look at Mike Tyson. I mean, when he was started talking about being the best, that's when he started declining.
yeah,
Granted, I still wouldn't want to go against him, but
yeah,
the dude's scary. But
yeah.
anytime you think you're at the top, that's when you're starting to go down.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware
Well,
of who else
and
is skilled and who else you can learn from.
Yep.
and that's why we have to be very intentional with number one, we inspect what we expect, right? And so we're doing that with ourselves as well as those around us. And that's why you have to be very intentional with that circle that you put around you, so that you will be able to learn from them, and they may just learn a little bit from you too, and usually it's mutual. But they have aspects that you love, and you have aspects that they love, and so it usually works out really well.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be intentional with those, because like I said in the post I did on Facebook today, iron sharpens iron. And Taylor Nada, that effer,
You ripped, you didn't.
Yeah, he did. I love it. He got me on that. And there's always somebody. It
It
had to
happens
be
to me
him,
all the
right?
time.
It had to be him. I love the guy, so I can't say much, but it was funny, and I know that it didn't come from a bad place. He was just teasing with me. But anyways, there's a lot of things that sharpen iron, but in your case, iron sharpens iron. You're hammering away on this stuff. You're forging and shaping this metal with other metal. You're powering through it to make it what it is. You don't have just this. Well, and even in this instance, it still is the same. You don't have a press that you use and just stamp them out and send them out, like the big companies do. Even though that it does require iron to do that. Those stamps are made out of huge iron, blades that cut that out. But iron sharpens iron. So we have to be intentional on who we put around us, and how you maintain and develop and maintain those relationships.
Absolutely. I've always, I grew up in a small town in Orange Grove, Texas, here about 40 minutes from Corpus, from the time I was 3 all the way through graduation. And I was raised by my grandparents. So I feel very fortunate to have been instilled with those more old-fashioned values and virtues. And my grandma used to always say, "Show me your friends and I'll show you who you are."
Yes.
And, I didn't understand that as a kid, but I absolutely understand it now. And that's a fact. I've always, for whatever reason, and it definitely applies in masonry for obvious reasons, I've always been surrounded by older men in my life. It always seems that I've always gravitated to them, or they've kind of seemed to want to take me under their wings for whatever reason. And I think that's been a tremendous influence on me in almost everything I've done in my life.
Well, and that says something about you as well, because we need to, as brothers, we need to inspect what we expect. So when somebody even approaches us in joining Freemasonry, we should really be very intentional and serious about if we're letting that person in. Who cares how long it takes, right?
Yeah.
Because that brother's going to be a brother for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of brothers that probably feel like, oh crap, they shouldn't have let Dennis in. But I'm in now. So now you have to deal with me until I really do something bad. And I haven't done anything.
You've been trying, though.
I haven't done anything really bad.
I was at a lodge recently, and there was a brother brought his son to eat. The kid's 17. And they were talking about, like, what's as soon as we can get him a petition? It's like, man, you just need to cool your jets, because he's young, and and I said the exact same thing. He'll be a Mason the rest of his life. Like this whole rushing people through is not working. And I was just appointed to an investigation committee for a small lodge, and I was asking to the community, I was like, have y'all read the latest investigation manual or guide or whatever you want to call it from Grand Lodge? And they didn't know there was such a thing. So I shared it with them, and they're like, hey, this isn't what we've been doing. This is a lot stricter than we've
way off.
It's go figure.
Which is available on the Grand Lodge website, brothers. Go get you one. Your secretary one. It was sent to them.
Yeah.
Use it and get your own. You
I
can buy
couldn't-
your own.
I couldn't find it on the Grand Lodge website. I had to ask
Yeah,
on Texas Freemasons to.
My secretary gave us a copy because I was recently assigned to an investigation as well. And man, I tell you, I felt it was like a breath of fresh air to see that list. It was so appropriate. It was so needed and appropriate. And as long as Freemasonry has been around, I was kind of shocked that it hadn't been that way, or maybe it was that way decades ago, and it just kind of faded away with the way things change. I don't know, but I'm glad. I'm glad that it,
right.
It was a lot stricter.
Yeah.
And we kind of did away with that. But this manual has been around for quite a while. Even though this is the most updated version, a lot of
this one
the
has been
basic
around for 10
ideas,
years.
the basic ideas in there have been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it's just most people aren't aware of it, and it's not really something that's pushed, but it should be.
Absolutely. I just utilized it. Well, we utilized it on a recent interview about a month ago, and it took definitely twice as long to interview the man, and appropriately so.
But it's worth it.
I felt so much more comfortable being able to dive deeper into this, the investigation, and really pick somebody's brain and get them the opportunity to do likewise. It's super important. It's numbers are not the number one thing we need to be focused on. That's fact.
Nope.
I've only been a Mason about 2 years, and I've seen guys come in, at least one I know of for sure, and not exactly the greatest fit. I mean, he never showed up again really once he came to a couple meetings, but it was like one slipped through the cracks. I kind of felt like, and
Right.
this is super needed right now. I'm glad that things have been updated.
Yeah.
The best thing is that you can walk away with the decision knowing you made the right decision.
Yes.
Good or bad, right? Good or bad. You can walk away knowing that you did your job to the best of your ability.
That's right.
Well, you can't take back letting someone in that you shouldn't have, right?
Exactly.
But you can take back keeping someone out, because they can always repetition.
Yeah.
And if they're determined, if they're the right guy and you just made a mistake, that's fine. If they really want to come back, they'll petition again. But there was a quote from a brother. I can't remember his name right away, but he came on. It's one of our episodes, and I'll have to find his name so I can get the proper. But he said in his interview that more harm has been done to the fraternity with white cubes, with white balls, than with black cubes.
Yes.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that, because
that was brother Steve Almager.
No. It wasn't Steve Almager.
He referenced it.
Yes, I think he did. Golly, I'm looking.
I don't know who said it, but he referenced it.
Yeah, that was a lot of episodes.
He had read it.
Yeah,
but yeah, and I mean, when he said that, I was like, that's so true, because I've seen lodges pretty much just picked apart and killed by the wrong people being allowed to.
Yeah.
Well, let's think about this. Think about Albert Mackey. Think about, or wait, no. Oh my gosh.
Are you combining them?
Think about Mackey. Think about Albert Pike. I got ahead of myself. Think about Mackey. He was the mentor to Albert Pike. And then think about Manly P. Hall. Think about all these great Masons of the past, and there are so many. Now, when we go to investigate somebody today, are we thinking that person's going to be the next great thing that's going to push us forward in Freemasonry? Or are we thinking that we're going to develop them into that? Or do we think that they already have the potential and we're just going to shape it? Right?
So it was Dave Yance, the importance of guarding the West Gate of Freemasonry.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think Steve Almager, he said he watched it and he was referring to that.
No, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a long time ago. I didn't realize.
He and Rit put that program together.
Yes,
I remember.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, and absolutely, like you keeping the right guy out is unfortunate, but he'll come back if he's the right guy. Letting the wrong guy in.
Yeah.
I mean that could kill decades of progress.
It can be dangerous, literally, sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah, I
lot
had
of
a guy try to fight me in the
Yes.
laundry one time
yeah,
because he was the wrong guy.
yeah. There's a lot of people out there. They're not there, man.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Right. And folks think that they can, now we can carry guns into the lodge or whatever to protect ourselves. I'm not really for that. I'm not that guy. I
Why
don't
let it
carry
get
a
to that
gun.
point?
Exactly. That's my point. Why are we letting that threat be there? And why are we scared? What are we doing that scares us from
Yeah.
the public?
Well,
I don't, we're not doing anything.
I don't think it's to protect us from ourselves. I think it's to protect us from the outside coming in. But
Yeah, but
if you look in more hostile countries that aren't friendly to Freemasonry, they still have Masonic lodges.
So I don't know if y'all. Oh, sorry, brother. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but the Tyler's not carrying a sword.
Yeah.
well, in India,
Or
it's
well armed.
yeah, in India, it's a gun.
So
Yeah.
recently, I don't know if you guys heard about it, but just so we had lodge this past Tuesday. I was sitting there and brother, Wally. You guys know Wally, right?
Yes, I love Wally.
Yeah, it's awesome. So he had to check out a little early, so he took off, and I get a couple of texts from him. So I look down at my phone. He sent pictures of police outside the lodge looking for bullet casings. There was a drive-by shooting while we were in lodge. There's a kind of a complex of apartments
Yes,
right
right
across.
behind you.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
behind us. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that was
I
the
used to
target
live
area.
right over there.
Yeah, so I think that was the target area, but it happened while we were sitting in lodge. We didn't even know about it.
Wow.
Danger is real, man. And unfortunately, a lot of lodges, especially here in Corpus, have been around so long. At one point in time, that was a nice area, but now a lot of that area is dilapidated and not the greatest areas to be in when the sun goes down sometimes.
Yeah. I was going to
Well,
say
and
something similar.
yeah, that happens. That was all. I think that was all government, um,
Yep.
or naval apartments at one time,
Yeah.
and now it's all government subsidized apartments for lower income.
Hmm.
And we lived right over next to Louisiana. We lived on Ohio. Well,
Okay.
Lavinia lived on Ohio. I lived Atlanta or Atlantic, and yeah, it was just right there. We walked to HEB every day, just about.
Yeah.
But yeah, the world has changed around us in many ways, and that's why we need the strong brothers to come in and not just anybody off the street. We need to do a real investigation.
Absolutely.
Because we need to be affecting the outside world, not letting the outside world affect us, which is what's
Exactly
happening.
right. That's exactly right. It's our fraternity, right? I mean,
That's right.
We got to look out for it. We got to keep it alive, and you can't do that if you're letting the wrong people in. Simple as that. I mean, I told the guys after this investigation, unfortunately, the guy it was non-favorable for many good reasons. I felt bad for the guy on a personal level. He was a very nice guy, but he was mentally unstable. It was super obvious. I've been around literal, psych patients my whole life because my mother suffers with mental illness. So I know what I'm witnessing when I'm around somebody who has issues, and this man needs some help. And like I told the brothers, I'm sorry, but I'm taking this super seriously. And if I don't feel comfortable enough to bring somebody into my home around my wife and kids, I'm not going to bring him into the lodge either.
Yes.
It's just unfortunate. We feel like we have to apologize for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been in the same situation. And
yeah, it was super uncomfortable. And at the same time, I was like, well, wait a minute, man, this is my job. It's my duty,
If you're going to, from a very childish perspective, but I think it's accurate, but it's very childish. It's our clubhouse, right? We want to be careful about who we let come into our clubhouse. But from another perspective, if I initiate somebody, I won't call them brother by the end of the day, right? That has big implications to me because If
Yes.
you're my brother, you're family.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
family. I'm bringing you into my family, and I don't want to bring somebody into my family that I don't feel comfortable, like you said, bringing around my wife and children, or I feel like it's not going to. To be frank, I feel like they're going to drag me down.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that iron sharpening iron, because if I start associating myself, the people in my lodge are people I associate myself with. If I start associating myself with someone that is negative, or they have a crappy attitude, or
Yeah.
they don't have a good work ethic,
Yeah. Exactly.
Thank you, folks. It was nice seeing you. Y'all have a great day.
We'll give you another chance.
yeah.
Right.
But the more of those people you start, because then their friends are going to join.
Yep. Exactly. That's
Like attracts like, and before you know it, you're gonna have a lodge full of, and I'm sorry, but a lodge full of negative people
yeah.
is a dead lodge. It might as well just merge it right now. Right now.
Miserable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know that y'all saying that, talking about our family and stuff, and our brothers. You know, now Mickey, you hadn't been around long enough. Most of the brothers in Texas have been around long enough to see. You know, my daughter has been going to Grand Lodge and everywhere around Texas with me since she was in a travel carrier. She
Okay.
wasn't big enough to put in a stool to in a baby seat to eat dinner. We had to feed her in her travel carrier at dinner, and she's grown up with Masons. She trusts Masons.
Yeah.
She wants to marry a Mason, and thank God there's plenty of brothers out there with young sons that look very promising. But you know, that being said, it's the same way with Justin's family. It's the same way with your family. It's the same way with Robert Marshall's little girl. You know, if somebody, if I ever saw anyone come at your family, it would be a showdown. I'm telling you, that they would have to get to me. And I know that certain brothers, it would be the same way. I know that would be the same with you brothers. You know,
Absolutely.
that there's no doubt in my mind. But if there's somebody else that I don't feel like I feel that way with,
Yeah. Exactly.
now they don't even have an opportunity to be in my inner circle, much
Yeah.
less have my respect as a Mason. I'll call them, you know, brother, but that's very lighthearted because I know that they don't feel the same
Yeah. Sincerely.
as me. Yeah, you can tell. You can tell.
Yeah. We had, so I'm going to say it was middle of last year or something like that. We had a new guy come in, initiated and everything. He seemed like he was a nice young man. He seemed like he was motivated. He wanted to learn. So the lodge asked me if I would be willing to help him study for his EA, and I said, "Yeah, man, I'd be honored. Awesome." So I'm still fresh. I've still got it there right now. I'd like to keep it fresh. So I invited him to my home, and you know, in between studying and whatnot, we talk a little bit to each other about life and whatnot, getting to know each other. Well, he starts to divulge a little bit of what he thinks about it's without getting too many details, conspiracy stuff about Shriners and kids and whatnot. And I said, "Hey, hang on, man. You understand that we're Shriners, right? We're the same guys. You know that, right? Like the guys you sat in lodge with, those are Shriners, most of them." And it just got really uncomfortable after that. And he stopped showing up after that evening. He stopped showing up. He didn't call me anymore, and he didn't go to lodge either. And honestly,
Well, that's probably better.
it is supposed to say, unfortunately, it's for the best. Because
Yes.
These are all reasons. Like the investigation guide is great, but I don't think it goes into like, it talks about taking your time, but it doesn't go into like specifics.
Mhm.
So like there are lodges where you have to, once you express an interest in joining, it's like 4 to 6 months before they even consider giving you a petition.
yeah,
And this gives you time. First of all, this guy's going to flake. Like if he's not going to stick around for a long period of term, you're going to find out within 6 months,
yeah,
right? Because we rush to put these guys through, and they get their EA, and after about a month, they stop coming around. So it's like, hey, you have to come to all of our public meetings, be it like a dinner or whatever, for 6 months.
Mhm.
And if they stop showing up after 3, Well, it's a good thing you didn't give them a petition because they weren't going to come around anyway.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing, like because they're going to have these conversations sitting around the brothers,
Mhm.
and they may. It's easy to put up a facade and kind of even if you're crazy, right? It's easy to seem sane 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But in the long haul, it's going to come out.
Gonna come out. Yep.
You can't keep it out. And so that conversation about the Shriners, that would happen within that 6-month period.
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
the brothers at the lodge were like,
Yeah.
about that. And
Yeah.
then he would never have got that petition, and that would not have been because now you have a Mason on your roster who
Yep.
probably will never go anywhere. And he's just gonna sit there in limbo on
Mhm.
Grandview, and nothing's ever gonna come of it.
And possibly squeeze a couple of buddies in who have the same mindset.
Yeah.
Or try to.
And that's the scary thing. That's why I was talking to you about that one lodge that, and that lodge is Hillcrest. So, if you watch the interview with Kyle and I and Justin
Yeah, I was there
and
too.
Justin, and even with Berryman, he was Yeti. He was on, and we talked about the same thing. They have
Or better yet, listen to Kyle at the summit because he's almost certainly going to talk about that.
Yes, brothers, come on down. We will all three be there.
Yep.
But they talk about the way that they do it is they don't even allow people to the lodge, right? Not until their actual initiation.
Yeah.
They don't even invite them there for a dinner before lodge or anything like that. They have a social time once a month that they all gather at a different restaurant and they get to know somebody. So, when somebody drinks a little bit, you really get to know who that person is. And I don't care. You can hide
Tell me
it
about it, Dennis.
You can hide it a little bit. I know you get all cuddly. And I'm trying to talk Freemasonry and you get all cuddly.
Oh.
So don't you cut that out. So yeah, he's got all the controls. He's the control freak.
Yeah.
But anyway, so people loosen up a little bit in those situations. So you're going to be able to gauge, is this person really going to be a fit with our culture, and is he going to fit in with our values, virtue, whatever you want to call it. And they have one of the strongest. They have an initiation list a mile long, and there are people waiting months now to get initiated that have been approved already. They're just waiting because they've gone through the other 3 to 6 months of social events, and now they're just in waiting.
Yeah, that's cool. That seems appropriate to me.
Yes, and not only that, but they also retain those brothers. Those brothers know that they have a job to do once they become brothers.
Yeah.
Everybody has a place to fill, and if there's not an empty space, they make one and make sure that person is involved in the lodge, and that lodge comes first, even before appendant bodies. That lodge comes first.
Yeah.
And man, that's a beautiful thing that they offer enough in their lodge, enough value in their lodge, and that's the key.
Yeah.
To be able to hold that attention and hold that social fellowship, all that while doing the work of Freemason.
Yeah, I agree. That would help tremendously keeping quality guys around, especially EAs. When I first joined, sitting around in the first, 3 or 4 meetings, I was trying to figure out what's going on, with everybody saying their parts and whatnot. I started to click. I understood, okay, I get it. They've got parts to say. Everybody has a specific deal. But other than that, I was like, okay, what else do we do? What else do we do? What is this about? And, I'm not trying to downplay anybody, any lodge or anything like that, but it seems like here lately, at least, there's been more of an effort or a focus on trying to liven things up a little bit and bring interest.
People are starting to get the picture. Yeah,
it is.
People are starting to get it. Yeah,
I feel like ever since Brad, Brother Billings was in the chair.
Right, worshipful.
Yeah, right.
Since you're a young Mason,
I'm still learning. Yeah,
I love him. He's right worshipful.
He was awesome,
still
man.
my most worshipful.
Yeah.
When
He
I
was awesome.
joined,
Uh-oh, that might get me in trouble.
it's been close to 20 years. But when I first joined, and granted, this I'm sure this wasn't the norm for every lodge in Texas. I'm talking very broadly, but I visited a lot of lodges in my district as a young Mason, and it was the same. It was the same. I mean, different brothers, not always, because some of the guys like come to every meeting, but it's the same stuff. You open, you do the minutes, you talk about fundraiser, and you close, and that's it. And then in the meal would be like a hot dog or something.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. I mean, this it's becoming more and more widely accepted that you have to offer some kind of value to actually justify people taking time out of their lives.
Yeah.
Granted, an hour a month at the minimum is not a whole lot, but with so many distractions in this world, it's if I don't have anything to offer, and the new episode of Mandalorian just came out, what am I going to do? Right? I could be bored and eat a hot dog, or I could have a nice meal at home with my family and watch the newest episode. What am I probably going to do?
Exactly. It needs to be something. We need to be offering something to everybody that makes it worth your time. As simple as that.
Yep, absolutely. And that's becoming more of the norm, fortunately.
I have a brother that still gives me a hard time because when I came to Goliad, I would always say, well, in McKinney, we used to do this. And they would all get so upset with me because I would always say that. But the thing is that we weren't doing a whole lot at that time. Now, Goliad has really become a really solid lodge. But at that time, it was same old, like everything else. I was fortunate to be raised in McKinney. And McKinney was at that time, and ever since, I think they might have not have been last year or maybe the year before that, but it was last year, but they were a Vanguard Lodge every year. And that's doing Freemasonry. Vanguard is not something, extremely, it's not just a feather in your cap, dude. If you're doing that, you're working your butt off to get that, get that acknowledgement. Yeah. So
parky spot.
That's right. Except now they don't give it anymore.
Oh, they don't have a party
Last
spot
year
for
they
it?
stopped that.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about disappointing. I'm never going to be Vanguard for that reason. I'm telling you. No, but seriously, I came from that atmosphere and they were always busy. I'm still a member of the lodge, so I still have the emails every day. Every day I get emails of what's happening next in the lodge and letting brothers know it's coming, be there, and it's amazing. It really is. And I wish that Freemasonry was more like that consistently. I think that's the goal of the Committee on Work, but I don't think what they're doing is causing that. I think that it's brothers putting Masonry to work.
There is. I think there's a stir right now. It seems like here in Corpus for sure. I mean, it's the only area I know, of course, but there's definitely a stir in our lodges here in Corpus to start taking action, even on social media, bring it to life, put up a schedule. What's going on in our lodge for this week and next week? Boom, 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 boom. Here's dates. Here's the events. You should come out. It's getting way more. Even just like I said, I've only been around 2 years since I first joined compared to now. It's way more in my face, from what I can notice. And in public, hearing sponsorships and whatnot. It's out there more than it was just 2 years ago here in Corpus.
Yeah. An inactive organization is a dead organization. Like if you're only meeting when your bylaws say you have to, you're dead. It's a dead organization. And furthermore, from a relationship perspective, I have a lot of brothers. I have a lot of brother Masons, but they're not all friends. If that makes sense.
I know.
That's the difference. Yeah.
Like the ones that like we do things outside the lodge and maybe go into a pub or concerts or conferences or whatever our mutual interests are. Those are my friends, man. Like they're all my brothers, but these guys are my friends.
Yeah.
And those strong bonds make a huge difference.
Oh yeah. I've noticed that too. There is a big difference. And I didn't quite understand that because when you first joined, it's like, I'm always there for you. You're always there for me. But then something might happen. Like I've noticed here just in my little knife business and whatnot, there's been a couple brothers kind of ticked off at me because I fell behind or here and there. Or maybe I forgot a detail, whatever it might be. But there's been some where I don't feel very friendly between us, unfortunately. So there is a difference between brothers and friends, and it's just the way it goes. It seems. I always try to make good. Should something go sideways, whatever. But some people just, I guess they don't get it. I don't know.
Well,
Well,
a lot of
we
people
live in an
forget.
Amazon. We live in an Amazon world,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and most people think that we're just like anybody else,
Yeah.
and instead of brothers.
If you want
And
something,
it's
if you
sad.
want something that's cheaply made and mass produced, there's options for that.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want something that's custom made that a Texan actually put effort into,
Mhm.
then there's a way to do that. And
Yeah.
don't confuse the two. Don't
Yeah.
confuse the two. Like Dennis said, don't reach out to Mickey Allen for a custom knife and expect an Amazon knife.
Yeah.
Don't expect an Amazon
Yes.
response. I mean, sometimes it's a small business. Like
Mhm.
if you want quality, sometimes it's expensive and sometimes you have to wait.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you want something quick and easy, well, there's options for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But you'll get what you pay for.
Yeah, that's a fact. And I've always tried to remain humble through the whole thing, and I accept full responsibility for taking on too much work in a short time. But my defense and on that is none of that was done with malice whatsoever. I was trying to give everybody what they wanted. It's a
Mhm.
complete opposite. I was trying to please everybody.
Right.
That's the
And
reason.
that's what.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what I was telling you online. I've got brothers that have been overly patient with me that just broke my heart. It breaks my heart that I
Same.
missed the bus. But I can tell you, like right now, it's past master season. It's coming up, and brothers are already calling me for the cases and stuff.
Mhm.
And I've got them laid out in my living room right now using this right here. It's leather honey, and I have to I
Don't call
apply it
me
on.
honey.
Mhm.
Don't call me leather.
Both things I adore, but I've got them laid out, and my poor family lost their living room, and I spent all afternoon spreading leather honey on all the cases, and they sit for 24 hours, and then I turn them over and spread them, and that's I condition it all. I really work hard to give a quality product,
Mhm.
and it's just like you. It takes effort, it takes time, it takes heart. I care
Definitely.
about what I'm doing, and
Definitely.
you do the same thing, and that's what people forget about is the brotherly love you're putting into it because it's so important to that brother that gets it, even though it takes a little longer sometimes a lot longer, but
Yeah.
but there's certain things you're giving them that they'll never see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, and you said it yourself, this was putting food on the table, right? And so of course you're going to take whatever orders you can get,
Yeah.
because I mean, more orders is more money,
Yeah.
and in a time of instability, you need that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And it's just part of the learning process of a taking on a new trade and taking on a new business at the same time. How much can I do with? Because there's a certain level, and you know this, but the listeners may not. There's a certain level that you can maintain the quality and quantity, right? But if you go too far into quantity, your quality dips,
Drop.
right? And if
Yeah.
you focus too
Right.
much on the quality, then you're not making as many. So there's a balance there,
Yeah.
and you're feeding your family while you're discovering this balance. So, and I'm sure the majority of Masons have been very patient and understanding, but
Absolutely.
the small minority, I mean, I hate to say it, but kind of shame on you, man. This
Right.
You reached out to this guy, this brother, for a service, and he's using it to support his family. I mean, show some patience. I mean, why do you need a knife so urgently that you can't wait a few extra weeks? If you want a quality knife, this is your man. But understand
Yeah,
that
and if you
one guy bending over a hot forge, hammering it away at it, sometimes it takes time.
Yeah. It's a
But
fact. And have,
if you want one yourself, make yourself a forge and learn it yourself.
there's been some guys who got downright ugly and say, man, if I was running some kind of scam here, you think I'd taken over my garage with all this equipment and invested in all this stuff and bought an anvil. I mean, who would do that just to scam somebody for $65?
Yeah, if people only knew how much I have lost in trying
Yeah.
to develop
Yeah.
the products that I sell.
Yeah. I mean,
I've
there's
lost so much money.
equipment. Yeah. Me too. It takes a lot. And my
Yeah.
prices compared to most knife makers are insanely low, beyond
Well,
reasonable.
and because I understand the situation, you know, I'm commissioning Mickey just so the world knows that he's capable. I'm commissioning Mickey to make my chief knife, or actually it's my dirk and sword for when I'm a chief of the Knights of St. Andrew, which is in 2 years. Well, a year and a half now. But I'm giving him the time to make it happen and put his heart and soul into it so that it really turns out special, because that's special to me. And I think every brother ought to keep that in mind when they're asking for something that's going to be that special to them, that they're going to show off to every brother they have. You know, they're going to do it. They're going to put it on Facebook. They're going to show it off every time somebody comes to the house.
Mhm.
And, you know, me, I'm going to be walking in new 32nd degree Masons with that sword,
Yeah.
you know, through an arch of steel. And that's important. That's a big deal to me.
Mhm.
I only want the best. And so that's why I've commissioned Mickey to do that. And so brothers out there, give him the time. Decide what you want, but give him the time. You know, design it all. Work on the design. Make sure that everything's exactly how you want it, but give him the time to make it, because it's hard work. And we're going to show on the video how he puts his blood, sweat, and tears into this stuff. You know,
Well, bring it all around, Dennis. To make a good mason takes time.
yes.
And if you have a lodge that's just pushing them through, you're getting a quantity of masons, but you're not getting the quality necessarily. You're getting a lot of members, but you're not getting a lot of masons.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with trade.
Yeah. It applies.
It takes your time. It takes time to get something quality out of iron or steel or whatever material you're working with.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of patience.
Yes. Man, that choked me up for a second. Golly, Justin.
You're welcome.
I didn't know you had a heart.
But to that point, and we will. Mickey did share a video that I will be incorporating into this, so you can see some of the work. But if you want to see it in person, the best thing to do is to be sure that you're coming to the summit, because Mickey will be there, and he will. I assume it'll be like Waco, where you have some stuff set up, Mickey.
Yep. I'm going to do a little show and tell for everybody. Make it really cool.
And
nice.
if you go to the and I'll link it, but this year at Waco, Mickey had a booth set up at the shop, and I spent some time looking over his stuff. So check out that video if you want to see some of the things he had back in January.
Mhm.
And
But and we'll have links for him so you can contact him as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But come to the summit, check out what he's got. He has a piece that he's working on that will be up for auction, and it will definitely be very awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be it's the first time I've ever tried to make this particular item, and I cannot wait. It's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it turns out. I think it's going to be wicked.
Yeah.
And I'm actually fortunate enough to be able to provide some of the materials for it off of one of my properties, and that's going to be cool.
That makes it way more special for me too. I love that aspect. Like, I've gotten so many of my railroad spikes have been given to me. My brothers, you know, one way or another, they acquire them. Just day before, it was yesterday. I'm always lost. I think it was yesterday. Brother Sean DeBon, I believe is how you say his name. He's up near Waco. He works for a railroad company, and he gave me.
Oh, very cool.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that out loud, but I got a whole bucket full.
Well, they actually have to pull them whenever they replace the railroad ties, which they're doing right now. They have to pull the old ones and put new ones in.
Hey,
so
it's not like names, so it's okay.
Yep, he gave me he hooked me up really good. So it means a whole lot more to me when other brothers are involved. I love that aspect, because I don't want to feel like I'm just doing stuff by myself. I'm contributing, but I want people involved, man. And we're actually here in Corpus, brother Hallwell, John Hallwell, Jay, he and I put our heads together here recently with a couple other brothers who he knows I just met. We're going to form a group here locally specifically for the purpose of bringing in like troubled youth or veterans, anybody who wants to learn how to forge, just to contribute to the community one way or
I
another.
love that, man.
That's
That's always
beautiful.
that's
I love
always
that.
been my number one goal. I told my wife, once I get a good job again, a couple years back when I was unemployed doing this. So once I get back on my feet and we're doing good, I want to turn this into something that's a pure charity. That's all I want to do with it. I feel like anybody who has the ability to do anything with their hands, that is a God-given ability, and I want to do it. That's how I want to. Can't repay, but God, of course, but show my appreciation for everything He's given me through this ability by giving back somehow to somebody out there needs to be able to do something to keep them either out of trouble or maybe give them a future in this craft. That's my ultimate dream with this thing. That's what I want to do with it.
I love it, man. That's
Yeah,
as
that
a
reminds
teacher.
me.
As a teacher, I think that's powerful, and I know that will change lives.
That's what I want. That's what I want to be remembered for.
That reminds me of a story that I saw on the Texas Traveler or something like that. The guy that used to be on Channel 8 and now he does his own thing.
Texas
He's been around
Country
forever.
Reporter?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that guy.
I record it and watch it all the time. I'm so bad. I
Yeah.
can't believe I forgot. But anyways, there was an episode once about this ranch company, this company this family that had a ranch and they turned their horses into horses for special needs kids, and people come all over from everywhere for therapy for their special needs kids, autistic kids.
Yeah.
And that was their therapy. And that's exactly what the world needs
That's
is
God's
more
work,
people
man.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
God's
right.
work.
And that's Masonry's work. That's Freemasonry's work.
Absolutely.
That's a charity because that's true love going out. That's not throwing money at something and turning your back on it. That's putting love into it. So I want to just say out there for all you brothers that think charity is having these fish fries and stuff like this, I don't believe that. I believe brotherly love and affection is charity. We're charitable to our people and then ultimately to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been almost an hour and a half. It's Friday evening. We don't have any guests on at the time, so I'd like to open it up to final thoughts at this point. And let's start with Dennis, because Dennis always has the most final thoughts, and then we'll go.
Then I should be last. I should be last.
No, you get to go first, big boy.
That's not right because I always bounce. I get ideas off of y'all, so it's hard for me.
I know you do.
You're an you're an ab.
He's sharpening you.
I'm telling you. Oh my gosh, I'm dull. That's for sure. Brothers, thank you as always for listening to this interview. I'm so excited about this summit. We have, and if you haven't gone there, go to Eventbrite and get your ticket because we are only selling a limited amount of tickets.
Yep.
And then if you need help with getting in with the hotel or whatever, just give me a holler. I'll help you. We just about got the whole top floor of the hotel rented out to Masons, which is pretty freaking awesome if you ask me. Yeah. I mean, that's just cool. Being able to have a private event that sells out a top floor of a hotel and then some, that's cool. Sure. But anyways, it's a family event. They can play on the beach while we play with our brothers and do our summit and listen to all the knowledgeable things that we have going on. And as you've seen, not only are our speakers freaking awesome, so are our vendors. I couldn't think of anybody I wanted more at our summit than Mickey Allen from Corpus Christi and Oso Lodge. I love the lodge. I love the brothers in the lodge. It's too many to count, but it's such an honor for me and I know Justin as well. It's such an honor to be able to do this and to have the support of Oso Lodge and Alaming Shrine. And really, if I named all the brothers I know, it would include, 189. It would include all the other lodges in Corpus as well. So um, these are our circles of friends. These are the ones that we can count on, and we know that. And all we had to do is ask. All of the sharpest individuals out there are, they love us, they care about us. They not only want us to succeed, but they want you to succeed. And that's the thing, is that they all want you to succeed as a Mason, as a leader, and provide some good inspirational leadership that has to do with the ancients as well as modern Freemasonry. And you're going to get to hear it all. There's a big range. Yeah. And from some of the best known authors, some of the highest ranking officers in other grand jurisdictions, as well as our own. That's a little hint, but we're not revealing everybody yet. But and I know everybody's getting tired now, but I just can't stress enough how wonderful of an opportunity this is. And we're only looking to break even so that we can do this again next year.
Yeah.
Right. If we make a little money, that's great, because it's just going to make it better for next year, because we want to do 2 next year. But we have to make this one successful first. And it begins with the success of you and your takeaway. Once you come and see the event, we want to know how you feel. We're going to sit and drink iced tea or scotch and talk about it for the rest of the night. And even if you live in Corpus, you're welcome to sit on the beach with us or sit in the hotel lobby with us and enjoy the evening with a bunch of Freemasons from 4 states already, 4 different states.
Wow.
That's just freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So, brothers, thank you for joining us and putting up with us as you always do. I'm so proud to have Mickey on the show. We love you, Mickey. We're glad you're going to be our vendor, and we're glad that you're making this special signature piece just for us. And I couldn't be more proud. And as always, brothers, keep it between the points.
Mickey, let's go ahead and hear your final thoughts.
All right. Well, it's going to be hard to follow up that. This guy's a professional rock and roller. Thanks, Dennis, man. When Dennis first texted me about this whole thing with the ideas he was proposing as far as my contributions and whatnot, man, it wasn't even a question for me. It was yes before he even finished the sentence. Like I said, I want to contribute whatever these 2 hands can contribute to Masonry and the rest of the world to make things better. That's my goal, man. That's what I love doing. It makes me feel good in my heart. And to make other people happy just because I banged something out of a piece of steel, man, what a blessing. It blows my mind that makes people so happy, and I'm glad that I can and I have the ability to do it. And I'm going to do it as long as my body allows, that's for sure. And I'm super happy to see all this focus coming to my hometown here in Corpus. I love Corpus Christi. I love the size of this city. I think it's the perfect size. There's a bunch of good people here, good-hearted people. There's a lot of kind people here in Corpus, despite what the news might say or whatever, And the Masons here are amazing too. There's so many who go, mind it go unnamed. Either they want to be that way or for whatever reason, but there's so many good guys here working just under the surface, making things happen, teaching us younger guys the ropes. And I'm going to stick around as long as they'll have me, man. And I'm going to learn everything I can learn and pass it on the best way possible. And not just in my forging, but with Masonry as well. And I appreciate all you guys for everything y'all do. The podcast is awesome, man. Like I said, I've been watching it as soon as I found out about it. I've been watching it on my way to work in the mornings, is what I listen to on the way home. And I'm super honored for you guys to have had me on the show. And just thank you for everything, man. I super honored to be contributing to this summit and whatnot. And I'm going to do my best to make it as memorable as I can as well.
Awesome. Well, Mickey, I'll wrap up by saying, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your Friday evening to come onto the show. And you're doing big things, man. Big things are happening around you. I could tell from our conversations and the direction you have things going. And so I'm excited, one, to have you come to the summit, but two, just to watch what you have going evolve and progress. Because I know big things are going to happen, and it's exciting to see a brother, because we should always want to see our brothers be successful, right? So it's exciting to sit back and through Facebook and through conversation be able to see where you're going next, because you're just going to keep moving up, man.
Thank you.
And but that said, as in regards to the summit, I mean, I've talked to some brothers, and I know there's some big things going down a week or so before the event in Waco, right? And I know OLT will be happening in Corpus at some point.
The month before.
I understand. You do not want to miss this event, though. Understand this, please. And I know it sounds incredibly biased, and I'm sure it is coming from me, but when you look at the lineup, and we haven't, like Dennis said, we haven't announced everybody yet. Some people were waiting a little bit closer, but when you look at the lineup,
hopefully we won't have to go to wait. Hopefully,
yeah, that's good. But if you look at the lineup, if you look at the events that are planned around this is not something to miss, right? This is going to be huge. It's going to be awesome, and I don't want to detract from any other events that are happening in Texas this year.
No way.
At the same time, even. But there's not going to be anything like this. It's just not, right? And you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your lodge and the fraternity, frankly, to be at this summit, because we're having some of the best in Texas and surrounding areas coming and sharing what they have learned with you. I mean, I cannot stress like how amazing this is. Like the most learned, the most skilled Freemasons, and I'm talking about skilled in regards to lodge operation, in regards to esoterics, in regards to into history and education. They're going to be in Corpus Christi at our event, and you do not want to miss it. You don't. And I know money is a finite resource for everybody, right? But you want to make this happen. You want to be there. I promise you that, yeah, you'll get there, and there will not be another Masonic event that you've been to like this. I mean, it is going to be, it's going to be legendary. And with this success, there will be, like Dennis said, we'll be branching out and going to other places. But
yes.
But this is the launching point. There'll only be one first summit, and you want to be there. You want to say, I was there when Masonic Improvement took it to the next level, and it has never been the same since. You want to be there.
And it's always about our cable toe, as Justin was saying. But, you know, in reality, we decide how far our cable toe is, how long our cable toe is. Mm-hmm. And we make those intentional decisions on what's important to us. So if being the best mentor and leader that you can be is important to you, this is where you want to be, because this is what it's all about. And then not only that, but you're going to be surrounded by brothers who feel the same way, talk the same way, think the same way. And you're going to find that you may just pluck a few more people into your inner circle that weren't there before. That's how Justin and I do.
The whole theme of this episode is iron sharpens iron. If you want to be around other like-minded Masons that will sharpen you and improve you as a Mason, you know where they're going to be? The Masonic Improvement Summit.
Yep.
Yes.
Corpus Christi.
Do you want to have somebody with a foam sword that does the fake
nerds?
No, I told you not to bring that to my lodge.
Do you want to have that guy as your iron sharpening tool, or do you want to have somebody that's the real deal that's going to take it to the next level?
There we go. Awesome.
Level up.
Keep it
All right,
between the
brothers.
points.
Take care.